Hi, welcome to the demonstration of mScada application. So we have started the mScada server on this machine, and this is the admin console. And we'll be launching mScada client from on the same machine through a browser. So first of all, we have to connect the mScada server to Ignition. For that, we have to enter the Ignition host name here. But for this demo, we will not be connecting to Ignition. So if we connect, it will just run some 10 tag values in a simulation mode, and it will drive the mScada clients. So first we have to connect. Now it says offline and PubNub status says it's connected, and this is a demo version, so it will run for 30 minutes and it will stop. Now the server is ready, but it is not sending the packets to the mScada client. So for that we have to press start. Now we have to open the mScada client. As you can see, this is the mScada application. You can see the very small footprint, and it will load rest of the data from the server and start the client. So this client can reside on any device. It could be a mobile phone or any device supporting the HTML5 browser. So we open it under Chrome browser. Now depending on the speed of the internet, it will ask the username. So we have configured a few users on the mScada server. So for this demo, we'll log in as admin first. Password. Now this client has communicated through the PubNub cloud to the mScada server, which resides on the same machine, but it could be on any other machine. Now it gives a default project name as my project. There could be any number of projects lying there. So it has received the data about the project configuration as a JSON file from the mScada server, and this is the screen, mScada screen, that you will be typically seeing on any mScada client. Now this is the navigation or the status bar which comes on the top, and it has a buttons for navigation previous to next page. Refresh button will refresh the page with the latest values, and this displays the page number 0 of 0. There's only one page, and the project name and the status shows the communication with the mScada server is on, and connectivity with PubNub is on, and the server status is on, and the username is admin, and access right is read write. And this is the menu toolbar for configuring the various components. This project is already configured with some of the components, but they have been configured using this menu. So we have to just click here, and that component will appear, and then you can move. So we'll see individually all the components that are supported. So let's just try to see what is already configured here. So this is the static text, which is this component, and each of these components has a menu here. If you click this, you can edit the component, you can move it, you can resize it, you can duplicate the component, or you can change its sequence number in the order in which the components are displayed on the screen, and you can delete. So this applies to any component. The same menu applies. You can collapse the menu. Now we will see some of the options which are common to all components. For example, with this move, if I move, then I click anywhere, the component moves over there, and with an escape key I leave the component there. So this is applicable to any other component. I can move that component here. I right click or click the escape button. The component will be placed there. Now the third option is to resize the component. If I choose resize, then I can give the bottom right corner, and the component will be resized. And the next option is to duplicate. Supposing you have configured a component with some property changes and you want to duplicate the same, then you can just place duplicate and it will ask for confirmation, and the component is duplicated with the properties as configured. Now the next option is you can shift the location of this component in the order in which it is displayed. For example, this component is the first component in the list. So if I move this, it is hidden behind this other components. So if you want to bring it to the foreground, you have to just say shift. Then it will ask for confirmation, and then it comes on the top. Other option is to delete. Then the component again asks for the confirmation and it will get deleted. So this menu is applicable to any of the components. This is common to all the components. Now every component has an edit button. So edit will display the JSON structure of this component, which defines the properties. So some of the properties cannot be changed. For example, the page number on which it is displayed, its name, its ID. Its ID is basically its sequence number. So parameters that can be changed are, for example, in this case, this text. If I change it to text 1, it will reflect over here when I click OK. Now you can change the font color. Right now it is blue. If I click on this, we can change it to red. And you can change the font style. It supports some 5-6 fonts, so you can change the font to something else. And the font size, it supports some 10-12 sizes. If I can make it say 8, and then you can make the text bold or italic or justification to left, middle or right, represented with number 0, 1 or 2. And the opacity, right now it is fully opaque, but you can make it 50% or 25%, so it will become a transparent background. The border color, the border thickness, all these properties can be changed. So I have changed some of the parameters, and if I click OK, you can observe that the font size has changed, the font style has changed. So I can move it to some other location. So the edit menu is applicable to all the components. So the next component is a meter, which is this component. So here also the move, resize, duplicate, shift and delete, they remain same. For example, if I want to resize, I just click here. Of course, I cannot click it above the, I cannot reduce it on the other side. So it has to be on the bottom right side. Then if I click edit, the JSON properties of this component are more detailed, more in number. So here also some of the initial parameters cannot be changed. Others which can be changed are the fill color of the dial, the needle color, the radius. Of course, the radius will change when I resize automatically, but here also you can change border color, font color. So one thing important in this is dynamic component because it displays some tag value. So to configure the tag value, all the components that display the dynamic values have a property called meter var or bar var, and we have to give the tag number, tag name, which comes from the tag path file as defined in the tag path file. So this will map to that tag value and display the value of that tag in a dial. So this is where the binding is done. Now in addition to that, we have some min max values. There's some alarm min and alarm max, which is shown here with the red. These are optional. If you give 0, that line will not come over there. And this is the description, units. So these are all self-explanatory. The decimal points which are to be displayed in the dial and its value is here displayed. This can be changed. For example, this decimal, if I make it 0, so you will see that it will become 35 without 2 decimal points. You can change the opacity, number of divisions. You can have either 5 or 6 divisions. This has got 5, you can have 6. Only 2 options are there. And this is very important. These two, again, they are applicable to most of the dynamic components. One is the state color is an array. So, and the state blink. So each tag can have up maximum up to 10 states, representing 10 different threshold values for an analog tag, or 10 different states for a digital tag. So if the state of a tag will be between 0 to 9, and each state can be assigned a color. So when the tag is in state 0, the color of the needle and color of the display here will be what is shown here. For example, right now it is state 0, so it is showing in yellow. So automatically it will change the color depending on the state in which it is. That is, the value of this is above certain, say for example 80, I might have defined a state as 2. So when this tag is in state 2, automatically whatever color is shown here, that will be shown on the needle and the value. Similarly, there's another property called blink. So this also defines 10 numbers. So blink 0 means the dynamic property will not blink at all for that particular state. So state 0 means normal state. So you can see everything is normal. There is no blinking here. But if the value exceeds certain threshold and it goes in state 1, so state 1 is blinking at one cycle per second. State 2 is blinking twice in a second, so it is flash or it will flicker. So we have 0, 1 and 2. For different state we can assign the blinking if you want. So these are some of the things that are common to all the components. So if I press OK, whatever properties we have changed here, they will reflect here. For example, I had changed the decimal to 0, so it is showing me the value without decimals. Now the next component is a row of table. So this has also got the same menus as move, resize, duplicate, etc., and the edit. Now this will have a different set of properties. Now the initial few things cannot be changed as usual, whereas this is an important property. This shows what the content of the entries in the cell. So this defines number of columns in that row. So this has got 4 columns in a row, and there is only one row. And the contents of each of these 4 columns are defined here. So this can be a string of numbers and decimals we are separated by semicolons. But if an entry is preceded with an @ sign, then that means it's a dynamic. It's a dynamic tag to be bound over here. The value of this tag will be fetched from the server. Whereas if it's any other text without an @ sign, it will be displayed as it is. So for example, if I change this to something here, click OK, then it will reflect in the entry over there. And this is another important property which is applicable to all the tables. So this defines the properties of the column. That is, what is the justification, whether that column, the entire column, whether it's left justified, center justified, or right justified, whether it is bold or whether it's italic, and the color of the font, etc. So these are repeated separated by a semicolon. We have defined the properties of each column. Then we can change the border color, border thickness for that tabular component, background color, font size, etc., as usual. And again, the font color for the dynamic tags are defined here. If the tag is in state 0, it will be displayed in this color, state 1 in this color, state 2 in this color. Similarly, that text will be either blinking or non-blinking or flickering, depending on what we define, 0, 1 or 2 here. And this is for binary tags. So binary tags can have value true, false, or 1, 2, 3, 4. So each of these discrete states will have a label. So you can define the label. It could be 0 could be off, 1 could be on, 2 could be trip, things like that. So you can define the states, the text that has to appear over here. Yeah, so it has reflected the change over here. Now this is another component which is table. So which you can define any number of group of parameters, associated parameters in a single table, and the configuration is similar. You have to define what goes in each of the cells, and if any text is preceded with a @ sign, that will mean it's a tag, it's a dynamic binding tag. So its value will be fetched rather than the text will as it is. Then this is another component which is similar to the table, but it's for much uh, larger tables having multiple pages. You could have a page containing, let's say, 20, 30 or 50 or 100 parameters, so which will not fit in one page, so it will automatically split it into the next previous pages, and you can define how many rows can be displayed in one page. And again, these properties of this are configured in a similar manner as explained in this component. Apart from that, this is the bar component, which has also properties which define what should be the fill color, what is the empty color, what is the bar width height. Width height can be adjusted using the resize, of course, and the font properties, and again the bar, the tag which represents the bar value, and what's the opacity, number of decimal points for display to be displayed for the value, and things like that. And this is a tag component, a simplified tag component, which is something like a bar, but displaying a little more information. For example, what is the percentage fill, etc. Apart from that, there's a trend component. Here you can define, you can resize and other things as usual. You can move, then you can edit. Now here this is a multi-point chart. So if you have multiple parameters to be displayed, so you can put them here, separated by a semicolon. You can say tag 3. So if I click OK, so you can see the tag, another tag is also displayed. It's displaying 2 tags right now. So you can define more number of tags. So if I want to remove these tags, once again, and I save this, so it will display back only one tag. It starts from 0 all over again. And there are additional properties, for example, fill color. You can change the fill color. Sorry, clicked the wrong cell. Fill color, if I make it 0, then it'll become black background. Yeah. And apart from this, there are some graphical components. So these are all tabular and dynamic components. So to make a P&I diagram, we need graphical components such as lines and circles and images. This is an image component, which is very versatile component. So for example, it has got also similar properties as other components. Now it has got a tag defined which ignition tag drives this symbol. So the type of animation that image supports is that you can define 2 JPEG, PNG files or image files separated by semicolon. So in state 1, it'll show this PNG, state 0 and state 1. If you can define one more PNG here, so if it's got state 3, it'll switch to that image. So you can this is very useful for showing status of a switch, so on or off. 0, it'll show in one state, off state, and when it becomes 1, it will show another on state, and things like that. And it has got associated with it one more property, uh, the the blink property. 0 and 1 and 2, as you know, is for no blinking or flashing or flickering. So in addition to that, there is one more type of animation possible, which for the image, only for the image, which is the rotation. Before that, we can define whether the aspect ratio of this component is to be maintained or not. So if you have to maintain the aspect ratio, then it is 0. If it is 1, then it will not maintain an aspect ratio. It will stretch according to whatever size we define. So with this, you can see the image stretches. Now if I resize without the aspect ratio, then it will size based on wherever I click exactly. So now if I change the animation to 3 is for rotation. So that means if this tag is in state 2, the symbol will start rotating. This is, yeah, it changes the symbol to another image as defined here. This is for state 0, this is for state 1, and it has got a blinking pattern. For state 0 there is no blinking. State 2 it start rotating. So only thing is that for a symbol to rotate, you have to have the aspect ratio not maintained, otherwise it will not rotate around the center, because the dimensions of this symbol, what is defined here, should exactly match what actual size of the symbol is. I think it will become clearer if you start using this for some of your symbols. Okay, so I'll just change it back to, say, blink, and say okay. So it comes to state 1, it will start flashing at 1 CPS rate. We had defined as flickering at, it was 2, so it was flashing faster. Now it is flashing slower. So these are some of the animations that you can do. So these are all the output components. So these are the graphical components: lines, rectangle, circle, ellipse. Image is the one which I showed just now. And for example, if I select rectangle, so rectangle gets drawn here. I can put it here. So if you click the edit, you can see the properties. For example, it has got a rounding and it's got a radius of at the corner 100 pixels. Stroke width, I can make it to say 3 pixels, and stroke opacity, fill opacity is 0, that's why it's showing empty. If I make it 1, it will become opaque. And fill color is defined as red, but it was opacity was 0, so nothing was shown. So if I click OK, so you can see the fill has changed. And fill opacity, and you can define a dash array for the boundary. So these are for the SVG properties. Okay. Now using these primitives, you can build a P&ID diagram, and these all these graphical elements can also be animated just like the other symbols. For example, this is a line component. If I define a tag here, tag 1, then this component can be linked, can be animated by the property, the state of the tag 1. If the status is 1, it will have this color, it will have this flashing, etc. Now the structure for all the graphical elements is the same. So if the segment is a line or a circle or an ellipse, the entries remain same here, but some of the entries will make sense for some of the components, some will not make sense. For example, for line component, the text doesn't make sense. So there's a whole lot of documentation available which defines all this. So this is just giving a quick introduction. So line component can be resized like this, and we can make it vertical, but only in the downward direction. I think the opacity given is 0.5, so it's looking transparent. I will just make it 1. So it will become opaque. And another thing is that, interesting thing is that when you move a component, you can use arrows. This is shift, left, right. And if you press shift arrow, then it will move with a 1 pixel per stroke. Otherwise it moves with 5 pixels. So you can do a very fine adjustment. And with right click you leave it at that position. So this more or less covers all the properties. And there's one more feature called alarms. The alarm is not shown on this screen, so we'll try to create. So it's asking, do you want to create a new page? I say yes. Now you can see the mScada server has stopped after 30 minutes or over. So we have stopped seeing the trend. The trend is flat right now. Okay, so we'll just try to create an alarm screen, alarm component. So yeah, basically this is the alarm component showing the status of all the 10 tags that are configured on the mScada server. Now you can enable the journal mode. So this shows the total log of, it can keep a history of 100 status changes in the PubNub cloud. Or you can see what is the unique alarms. So make the journal mode blank. So we are in page 2. Yeah, so this is the page 0 where the only 10 alarms are there. So this is an alarm screen. Yeah, I think that more or less covers all the features. Now we have logged in as an admin, so we are able to see all the, we are able to edit and modify the drawing. And finally you can save. So give a whatever project name. If you say okay, it'll be saved, sent on PubNub cloud to the mScada server, and it'll save the project as a mScada project as a JSON file. So we will not save because of some random changes we have done. So in addition to that, there are some input components. For example, this is the push button, momentary push button. This is a 2-state push button. This is a momentary push button. This is a multi-state push button. So all of this, if you click right now, ignition is not connected, so it will wait, won't be any response from server. So it will wait for some time and display the same status. And there is also a spinner component which is not configured, which looks like this. So using this up down you can change the value. Right now again it's not connected to ignition, so it doesn't make sense. And also the mScada server is also stopped after 30 minutes, so it's not responding. So in addition to that, we have one more property is to change um, the screen properties. You can, for example, change the background color or cancel. You can change the width. Instead of 1200, I make it 1100. If I say OK, and then you can change the height. If I say don't change anything, you can see the width has changed. So if I save the drawing, the new screen size will get stored in the project. So I think that more or less covers all the features. Only thing is that the same thing can be invoked, can be opened from any device which is connected to internet, and all we have to do is we have to just have the mScada folder somewhere on that device and just open the HTML5 and it will load the JavaScript and required components from the server and display the same results on all the screen irrespective of the device. Yeah, and this is all when we are logged in as admin. So for example, if I refresh the screen, it'll ask me to log in again. I'm sorry, right now the mScada server has stopped because 30 minutes have elapsed and the trial mode has expired. So we'll have to restart. But basically, if I log in as anything other than admin, say for example a guest user, then I won't be able to see the edit options at the bottom and those plus menus for moving and resizing the components. That is only available to the admin users. But once it saves the changes, the new changed screens will be visible to any client who logs in and reloads the project again. So I think that's